Hello everyone! It's been some time since my last upload. Hi. I just got back from the theater after watching A24's newest mystery horror film, Backrooms. Before I start, if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about spoilers for this movie. I would have liked to have kept the spoiler free, but unfortunately, I'll for sure struggle to explain parts of this movie without disclosing plot details. One more thing, I just wanted to mention that I don't really know too much about the whole Backrooms series or the lore that's on YouTube, so forgive me if I make any mistakes in describing things. I just really wanted to watch this movie due to the reviews and because I watched a couple film theory videos years ago. And also, sorry for the bad audio or anything. I'm recording in my car right now. It's kind of a not so long story. Okay, so let me get started by explaining the plots of the movie to the best of my ability. So this movie contains two main characters, Clark, a furniture showroom owner who has just recently been kicked out of his house by his wife due to relationship problems, Dr. Mary Klein, Clark's psychologist who is treating him, guiding him through these problems that he's having at home. We also have two side characters, Bobby and Kat, who are employees at Captain Clark's furniture store. There's also one more character, but we'll save him for later. A very small amount of characters, but it works very well. This movie follows our main character Clark, who I already stated before is going through relationship problems and is now living at his furniture store. He's struggling to make ends meet due to a rivaling company and poor quality furniture. He also has some overdue bills piling up, as well as electrical problems throughout the store. He goes to meetings with his psychologist Mary and hopes to fix his relationship with his wife. Here we get to see how this character is built and the true natures of his struggles. Mary, on the other hand, is having her own problems that are a little difficult to explain, so bear with me as I do some theorizing. We see a flashback of a little girl and Mary, I think. There's two scenes of flashbacks that kind of confuse me, so once again, we're in theory territory. I believe this is supposed to be Mary and possibly her daughter, as they have a wholesome moment, just living a good life, leaving imprints on their hands and some cement, possibly celebrating and commemorating a major mark of buying a home. Unfortunately, it immediately cuts back to the future, where the house is completely demolished and all that's left is a chunk of cement with the handprint of her daughter. So clearly, they're both trying to get past these problems and hopefully move on. We cut back to Clark at the furniture store with an electrician inspecting the circuit breaker, hoping to get to the bottom of these weird power outages happening around the store. While taking a look at the circuit breaker, they notice some odd placement of the switches that don't do anything other than being out of place. They are unable to find the cause of these outages until later that night we see Clark sleeping on a bed in the showroom, experiencing the outages firsthand. He goes back downstairs, frustrated, tinkering with the switches, when all of a sudden a bird flies into the room, plops dead right in front of an empty wall. Clark walks up, trying to understand what just happened. Not much to see, so he continues making his way back upstairs. A glimmer of light peeks through the wall in the pitch black room. Clark slowly approaches, feeling around to see what it is. He all of a sudden leans too far and he falls straight through the wall into a mysterious room. An empty room. Alright, sorry for that long, maybe cheesy world building recap. That's really the main part of the movie that needed explaining. But now we can get to actually talking about the backrooms themselves. The backrooms look amazing. Even though the first room slash level slash area isn't anything too crazy in details, it looks exactly like the original photo and the YouTube videos. We see clear footage of the room as well as what everyone wanted to see, found footage recordings and VHS style recordings. The movie slightly slows down here so that you can truly experience and get the feel for how off-putting the backrooms really is. There's zero noise, zero people, and objects are out of place. I want to say they did an amazing job with the practical effects throughout the whole movie, and you can see that they pretty much built every room from the ground up, and the way that they were able to have the furniture look like it was clipping through the floors and the walls looks really cool. Back to the story, Clark manages to make his way back home, not his actual home, but his store home, after being followed in the backrooms by some sort of creature. The next day he sees Mary not looking to continue his next session, but wanting to explain to her what he found. He rants about the rooms and Mary is concerned for Clark's well-being, as anyone would be to hearing this information. He gets frustrated and tells her that he'll come back with proof to show her that he's not crazy. Clark arrives at his employee's house, begging them to come help out at the store. They both agree, and they all meet in the basement the next day. Clark shows them and guides them through the rooms while having Bobby record everything. They arrive at a very steep hallway that Clark wants to explore, so he ties Bobby's waist with a rope, slowly descending him into the hallways. This next scene was what really got me hooked into the movie. Bobby arrives in a dark room, somewhat similar to the first couple of places, but this room is very dark. There's dirty laundry all over the floor, broken wall tiles. Bobby hears a random noise around the corner, so he checks it out. When he turns the corner, he just starts screaming and Clark and Kat start to pull him back up. Everyone starts tugging at the rope. Bobby tries climbing and running back up the steep hallway. They were lucky enough to get him back up, but with the rope still attached to Bobby, he gets yanked all the way back down the hallway. And the rope was attached to a sofa, and it ends up getting pulled down the hallway, and it knocks Clark and Kat down the hallway too. So everyone's stuck downstairs, no one can get back up. Okay, so before continuing, let me explain real quick why this scene was amazing. The way the room looked was so eerie, and if you paid close attention to the room, you could see that there was like a very creepy face mixed in with the piles of laundry. It was just like slightly poking out just in the middle of the pile. There was also this section of the room that just had a faint, ominous red glow. Nothing was happening in the scene, but just sitting there in suspense, waiting for the jump scare to happen. Couldn't do anything except just wait. It was cool. We continue with Clark's POV. Yes, I did use POV correctly, as he starts looping the room. He's trying to escape from whatever pulled Bobby down. Each door he goes through takes him through a different level. I don't remember the level numbers, I'll put up pictures of what they look like. If you're a fan of the series, you know what I'm talking about. He arrives at a dead end and starts hearing Kat speaking through a wall, I think. I'm pretty sure it was like a one-way mirror. Like Kat could see Clark, but Clark couldn't see anything. Kat warns him about the entity slowly creeping up behind him, and then the footage turns off.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
A small but very crazy cool detail is that when the entity enters the room, it picks up the camera and it turns it off itself. Nothing important about this fact, but I just wanted to say that it was so cool. I was just like, alright people, we're halfway through the movie. Please tolerate my bad commentary just for a little bit more. It'll be worth your time. Back in the real world, we follow Mary getting a couple more scenes with her living life but still struggling to accept her past. I'm not sure how much time has passed since we last saw Clark, but we can assume that at least a day or so has passed, as Mary shows up to the Captain Clark furniture store in search for him, probably due to the fact that he missed an appointment, and the last time they talked they didn't end on good terms. Gonna speed through this part, but Mary takes a look around the store, eventually ending up in the Backrooms. She explores the beginning area and gets chased around the place, ending up in a small cornered area of the room with drawings on the wall. The drawings depict a black pirate-looking entity surrounded by people getting eaten. Mary continues to examine the drawings when noise and lights start flickering from the only exit. Around the corner, we see Clark slowly emerge from the darkness, appearing tired and scared. Mary questions Clark about these rooms until the sound starts getting closer, backing them both against the wall. A few seconds pass, and Clark puts Mary into a chokehold, knocking Mary out. Another black flash begins. Another flashback begins, and we see a little girl inside of a house trying to look outside of the windows, but the windows seem to be blocked off with old newspapers and curtains, so no one can look inside or out. This little girl tries to peek through the windows until a crazy looking lady grabs her and talks her out of looking outside. A knock at the door repeats a couple of times and it stops. It goes completely quiet. Back to the movie. With Mary awake, she's found tied to a chair in the dining room, surrounded by human-like creatures and Clark on the other end of the table. Clark tries to explain what the Backrooms are, but there's no clear answer. All that he can say is that he believes that the Backrooms are something that's already existed. It's something that's remembered so many times that you forget what it is. In their words, they say, try explaining what a dog looks like to someone who doesn't know what a dog is, and tell them to draw it. Make sense? They have one last confrontation about everything wrong with Clark. He hates the real world. He loves whatever this is. He feels like he belongs here. He then gets eaten by a 10-foot tall giant that looks like him wearing a pirate costume. Mary and Captain Clark go on a chase similar to the one from earlier. Mary runs through the rooms, entering different levels, just narrowly escaping the monster. She arrives at an altered version of the furniture shop and is left in a dead end. The monster gets a hold of Mary, and she's fighting with everything she's got to escape the beast. She pulls a piece of cement with a handprint of her daughter, starts slamming the rock into the monster's head, eventually getting free of its grip and slipping away into a very narrow crack in the wall. Mary arrives at a facility surrounded by what looks to be scientists and people in hazmat suits, disinfecting her with a spray. The people guide her into a room, left alone, finally free from any danger. A man walks in. His name is Phil. He had one other scene earlier in the movie where he was at home in the living room watching TV with his family. He saw Clark's ad on the TV that day, and he was shocked as to where the location was. He speaks to Mary, trying to get answers but not willing to give them. Mary's worried as to what may happen after they're done questioning her. She's left speechless. The camera zooms out. that was my Backrooms movie recap and review. I really enjoyed the movie, even though on the drive back I was left looking like this. But after letting it simmer in my brain while writing this, I can say that it was a good movie. The people who have never heard of the Backrooms can definitely enjoy it. Just to wrap it all up, I'd give it a total score of 8 out of 10.